In 2008, the housing crisis really shook the foundation of our economy. In 2009, will we finally see a bottom? Back to discuss that in a minute. Housing at the heart of 2008's economic crisis, but as we head into the new year, home borrowing costs are at their lowest point in more than, 3 decades? The average on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage tumbling for a 9th straight week, back to 5.1. So, will this be the key to a real estate recovery? Let's ask a real estate expert, Dani Babb. Dani, welcome to the program. Good to see you again. Now, I don't want any wishy-washy stuff. I really want a firm conviction answer. Are we close to the real estate bottom?
Well, I brought my crystal ball to give you a real hardline answer. I do not think we are close to a real estate bottom, but here's the bottom line answer. It's going to take prices stabilizing and people getting off their behinds and not being afraid to buy, which is also going to be dependent on banks lending. That will happen when the banks, who have been given all of our taxpayer dollars, actually use it to lend people money, and we start to see the rate of foreclosures drop, which I do think we will begin to see at the end of 2009.
Okay, now you got to it in the end. So you can see a bottom in this housing market if we do all of the above by the end of 2009, right?
Correct.
Okay, now let me make a prediction. You talked about homeowners or home buyers being able to get loans. Here's my prediction. You don't get a loan unless you've got 20% down, you've got a job, you've got proof of income, and you've got a decent credit score. I don't think you'll get a loan unless you can meet those criteria. What do you say?
I would take all of your criteria and I would add to it that you have 6 to 12 months reserves, because we're already seeing that in the marketplace today, and I think it's going to get worse. In other words, you have to have 6 to 12 months worth of payments in the bank. And on top of that, you're going to have the declining market value, which is randomly based by banks, so everybody needs to shop around because all the banks are different. You need to have that declining market potential value over 2 years also in the bank. So your actual down payment is going to be closer to between 35 and 40%. In addition to what you've said.
Wow, now those are conditions which are very, I mean, that's tough to meet. You've got to admit it, that's tough to meet. On the other hand, I do believe there's going to be a lot of refi activity. If you're not upside down, as they say in California, if you don't owe more than the house is worth, I think this is a golden opportunity to refi because rates are going to come down so sharply.
Yeah, the average right now, we're seeing about 5.25. I think that's going to hold constant throughout the entire next year. The problem is in the jumbo market, where we have about consistently 2% higher than that 5.25% average. I do think that we are going to see refi activity go up. However, the banks have tightened the standards so that you can't have investment properties with many of the banks. And on top of that, you have to have an 80% loan-to-value ratio. Many of us who bought our homes in the last few years are not at that number because of the declining market. Now, one very bright spot here, though, for housing in 2009 is if you qualify for an FHA mortgage. If you're a first-time home buyer, you can still get a mortgage with a 680 or above FICO and 3% down, and the FHA loans that market is going crazy. It's already begun, and I think that's going to continue throughout next year.
But you know, that is the only bright spot that you could turn to in the last 3 minutes of this interview. We were hoping for more, Dani. We were.
Mike didn't have more for me. I'm sorry.
Well, it was still great to see you again. Thanks very much indeed, Dani.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.